Something that we've been talking about for a very long time is bringing on finally a
Green?
chondro, yeah, a chondro person. And I mean, out of all the people that are into chondros, I mean, who else could we start with than, I mean, the mayor of Chondro Town, right?
The
Like
mayor.
Bill Stegall. Does it get any
Yeah.
better than that? So definitely a show Shan and I have both been talking about doing for a long time. And it's weird, right? It's like I've been wanting to do it forever, and yet in the past year, I have not reached out to Bill once, and probably could have been there before. But sometimes it's like you see these people as like these grandiose people because you've done so much for the hobby, and I'm throwing flowers to Bill right now. But like to me, that's the way I see it. Like Bill has done so much to the community, especially when it comes to green trees, and I'm sure ball python too, which we can get into. But I'm not a ball python person, so I have no idea about your background into ball pythons. But I know he used to be huge into them, and you've been slimming down, which we can go into it after. So really excited, really happy to have Bill on. Um, yeah. So Shan, how have you been, man?
Pretty good.
Yeah, life
Um,
treat.
yeah, it's pretty good. Well, I had a clutch of banded grays. I got this half of the spotted clutch to um to eat, so pretty happy about that. Working on your babies right now, but yeah, not great success. Out of all the babies, I maybe have five that are eating, so I'm working on it.
That's not bad. Out of all my babies that you gave me, they're all eating. So thank you.
Yeah, they were
So Bill,
they,
if you don't know,
they were pre-eating before I gave them to
I know. So I was gonna say, Bill, if you don't know, our system is really great. Everything that doesn't eat at my house, I ship to his, and in exchange, he sends me babies that eat. So it's really amazing. It's an amazing deal for me.
Yeah,
That's a
we work
win-win.
together. Yeah, we work well together. But
That's a win-win.
yeah,
100%.
absolutely. Yeah, apart from
Um,
that, not much, Dom.
your gray bands, are you thinking they're gonna double clutch this year? Your gray band kick stick?
She's not gonna double clutch.
No?
She didn't do well out of this one. She's gonna be okay, but yeah, just
What do you
didn't
mean
do
by
well.
didn't do well? Like she looked like shit and didn't recover well, or
Yeah, she wouldn't eat very well. I even had a regurt on her, but she's fine now.
that's weird.
It is weird. Um,
Any ideas why, or
No idea. Maybe because I moved her. I don't know. I because I had cleaned her right the day after she had eaten. I was very careful about it, but I don't know.
and she
That
double
caused that.
clutched last year?
She did double clutch last year. She won't double
Hmm.
clutch this year. I'm positive of it. So I haven't
And
been feeding her enough.
how many eggs did you get, or how many babies are born?
So I had 12 eggs. I had a stillborn. I had one with a kink. I've never seen the one
Hmm.
banded with a kink, so that one kind of went. Um, yeah. So I had 8 total right now.
That's not
Pretty,
bad.
I'm
Except
pretty
for that,
happy.
collection's going well. Animals are good.
Everybody's doing great.
Nice. On my side, I mean, I've got my last two clutches in the incubator. I did check the dates because it's so bad, right? I don't know if you guys are like that, but after you've had so many clutches, like the clutch is ready, I put it in the incubator and I forget about it. I just don't know when they're going to hatch. But eventually, you start looking at it and like those eggs are dimpling a lot. Like and I have no idea. And then I went to check and I'm like, both my clutches are at 54 and 52 days. So they're dimpling. They look great. I opened the egg box to go look. One has 9 or 10 eggs. The other one has 9 eggs. One clutch is perfect. The other one has one egg that completely rotted away, and but all the other ones are good. So if I get one out of the two clutch that dies, I mean, I'm calling that a pretty damn good success. The only thing that's weird is I'm getting very light surface mold. Like if the egg is all perfect and they're pearly, pearly white, I've got these little tiny speckles of mold that I can literally take my finger and just wipe it off. So again, they're due to hatch anytime. So I have zero concern about it. But it's weird. I've never had this surface mold grow on top of it, but it's not a mold that like sticks to the eggs. I literally could probably blow on it and the mold would fall off. So it's weird. And for Bill, they're jungle carpet python eggs. So
Very
um,
nice.
so it's weird. I don't usually get this type of weird mold on top of it. Maybe my bins were dirty or whatever it is, but I mean, if I lose one clutch is going to be 100% hatch rate unless I get kinked babies or stuff like that, which I might because they're both ocelot zebra jungles to ocelot zebra jungles. So I'm going to get super zebras in there, and the super zebras are a bit of a crapshoot, right? It's like you roll the dice, you have one chance out of two of having a nice, healthy baby with a perfect tail, or a kinked baby or a kinked tail. It's just associated to that morph. So I tend to have about a 50% healthy hatch rate, if that makes sense, with super zebras. So we'll see. I haven't lost any babies to the incubation, so it's kind of interesting because I tend to lose one or two babies just in the eggs, like development stage. The super zebras, I tend to lose one or two every now and then. So for all you know, the rotten one might be that though.
If you catch the surface mole soon enough and it's early on, you could use Gold Bond. I've used that before and it works.
I've seen
It'll
it,
keep
but
the mole away.
I should have taken it. Honestly, it's like maybe there's like 3 or 4% of the entire egg that add mold. Like it's a one spore and then there's nothing around. Then it's like, it's
Yeah.
so little. It's just weird because it's on every egg, but it's not affecting the egg whatsoever. And as I said, I'm at day like 53, 54. I really don't care. They're, when the eggs just before they start sinking in and you're like, just by looking at them, I know they're due to hatch. They're going to hatch this week. So, and they all look perfect. So I have zero doubt that they're going to hatch. I couldn't care less about the mold. And the really rotten egg, I'll be honest, I didn't even know it was rotting because you know how you've got your egg boxes and you're going to have, you always see the front of the clutch, right? You never see the back of the clutch. So it was an egg in the back of the clutch and I didn't separate them. Again, I started getting lazy. I don't separate my clutches unless there's 3 eggs high. If there's 2 eggs high, I don't separate them. If there's 3 eggs, then I'll separate them because I always have that fear. I've had animals where they pierce through the eggs, they pierce in the other one, then eventually don't make it through the third egg. So if they're too high, I don't care. If they're 3 high, then I will separate them. So I didn't separate them, but usually a rotten egg doesn't affect the other eggs. So I've just let it. I've got a completely brown, disgusting egg with nice white eggs all around it. So to me, it is what it is.
It'll be fine.
Yeah. So except for that, what else is new? I don't know. Animals are growing. They're looking good. I'm feeding the crap out of certain animals that I really want to have go next year that are like at that 3 years old that I'm trying to get there.
I'm gonna
Yeah.
send my granite het exanthic over to your house this year. I think
Which one? I don't even know what you're talking. Like a male or a female?
female.
Either that or I'll send some to you.
Okay,
Either or.
because my male's not ready to go.
Yeah. Well, I have 2 males that are ready, but I have one proven male and one that is possible. So he's not proven. You probably want the proven male in there, right?
Kinda.
Fair enough. I don't even know what I'm asking.
Of course I do.
So before, do you have any other updates to give before we start
No,
chatting it up with Bill?
Let's go.
No. So before we bring on
Right.
Bill, how about we do the lovely commercial and bring up our
All
sponsor?
right.
You seem to be all ready, so
All right.
it's your turn to shine.
So our sponsor is Cornell World's Reptiles. If you're really serious about keeping reptiles and looking for high quality custom enclosures, you definitely need to check them out. Cornell World specializes in PVC enclosures and designs with the needs of both the animal and the keeper in mind. Their PVC enclosures are a fantastic option for creating a clean, secure, and professional looking habitat. They're durable, easy to maintain, and can be customized to fit different reptiles, setup spaces, whatever you're keeping, snakes, lizards, or other reptiles. They got the right enclosure for you.
God, you're freaking hilarious. And this sponsor is brought by ChatGPT. It's so obvious you're reading whatever you brought on.
Hey, I can't remember all that. If you want me to do that,
just go natural, man.
that's all good. Hey, but they are really good. You know, we have their.
Yeah, we both have
make it kind of flow a little bit.
Yeah, but now you're reading and you're reading super slow, man. You guys just go with it, brother.
All right.
Sorry, Bill. I'm very nice to Shan, as you can tell.
I love it.
I couldn't let that one go, man. That was too easy.
Absolutely love it.
apps. And the other sponsor that we have is the Western Canadian Breeders Reptile Expo. I think it's coming up next weekend. It's a 2-day, so the 15th and the 16th. Am I correct with that, Dom?
Yeah, I think you got it.
Yeah. Yeah, great. There's going to be great vendors there, great animals. So if you're looking for anything, that's the place to go.
Largest show in Western Canada, and we thank you for sponsoring us. And Shan, you did really, really well, but
Yeah,
more
sure.
natural, less reading.
Sure.
Sorry,
I'll go back to just babbling about it next time. That's about it. It's all
I think
good.
it's great. I just prefer it when it's natural, man. Like
I
we're
get it.
not doing this. This is just for fun, man. Just have fun with it. So Bill, welcome. Thank you so much for giving us a bit of your time to jump on our podcast. Really appreciate. Like I was saying earlier, like you've been one of those persons. There's a few people in the hobby that to me I look up to, and when it comes to Morelia, when it comes to chondros, I definitely look up to you. So you're definitely high up there. And the funny thing is, I'm a purist. Like I will not cross two things together, and you are the furthest thing from a purist, which is funny because you would think that it wouldn't be. And I wouldn't want to own one of your snakes, which is the funniest thing. But I think the shit that you create is incredible. Like I all over it all the time. So I really appreciate it, and I love chondros. I love all Morelia, but it's definitely something that I've been wanting to get into, and we've been talking about me and Shan of getting into. So again, thank you for coming on, and I look forward to this conversation.
Well, it's an absolute pleasure to be here, and thank you guys so much for the invite. You guys talking earlier about the carpet projects really kind of brought me back a decade because, boy, I cut my teeth on Morelia breeding carpet pythons for a decade or longer, and I miss them. I still have a couple, but I just, as our passions evolve and we spend more years in it, I just gravitated, I think, which is a pretty common scenario, from ball pythons to carpet pythons, and then from carpet pythons to green tree pythons. Pretty natural progression. I've seen a lot of people kind of do that. And so that was my path. But boy, and you're right, I was a Frankenstein with the carpet pythons.
I'm not surprised. Actually, if you don't mind, we were talking about this backstage. I would love to know the how you got from your first pet snake to where you are now. Like kind of like your history. You can make it as short as long as you want. I know you've said it on some other podcasts, and Shan's heard it before. I actually don't really know your path. So I've heard that Tony Hurd is in there, and I've heard that like your carpet python. Tell me a bit of your story. I'd love to hear it before we really go dive deep into the green trees.
Yeah, absolutely. It's probably a pretty typical story in a lot of ways. When I was young, loved reptiles, loved dinosaurs, loved snakes in particular. But my parents would never let me keep anything in the house. So I once said that I think at one time I had the largest collection of Chinese rubber snakes in existence. I had all these freaking rubber snakes. I just loved them. That's what I wanted when I was little, for birthdays and Christmases, little ones, big ones, because I couldn't have the real thing. My brother always bit the heads off of them, but that's another story. So I went all the way through my mid 30s when my son at that time was probably 8 years old. He had a ball python in one of his classrooms, and he said he wanted to get a snake. And I was, of course, absolutely 100% in. All we have to do is convince your mother. And so we did that. And for his birthday or Christmas, I can't remember which, we got him a baby ball python who we happened to get from Tony Hurt. It was ironic that Tony lived 5 minutes from me in Arlington, Texas. I had no idea who he was. I had no idea how to purchase a snake. But at the time, King Snake was where everybody bought and sold reptiles. And so I got on King Snake, and I found that Tony was local to me. So I went to his house. We picked out a very handsome baby. I think it was a het pied male, and brought it home. That was probably in the year 2000. And ever since then, we both just were enamored by these animals. And it was probably just several months later, Tony and I hit up and established a relationship. And, I was breeding ball pythons a year later.
That's okay. I got to ask, how much was that head pied like 30 years ago? You got to be looking, that must not have been a cheap snake 30 years ago.
It's amazing. It was a male het pied. I think I paid $100 for it.
You would have thought it would have been more than that.
Huh. I know, because pastel males were $1,000 at the time. So, yeah, I don't know. Maybe it was just his way of trying to suck me in. Which he did.
So going from your ball pythons, do you want to just talk to me about, like, were you always a ball python breeder for the next 10 years? When did do you want to go through the ball python to the carpet python to the green trees? Is that kind of the evolution?
Yeah, that was the evolution. And boy, I guess I do not consider myself a ball python breeder now, because I haven't produced a clutch in almost 2 years now. And the last clutches I did produce were really accidents, to be honest. Had a couple of retained sperm clutches. So really, I haven't technically bred ball pythons for over 2 years. But still, that was a long run. I probably started in 2002 or 2003. And so, a 20-year run of breeding ball pythons. And that was my bread and butter, for 5 years maybe. And then Tony decided that because I was doing some projects with Tony at the time, decided that we maybe should get into carpet pythons. And so he introduced me to carpet pythons. I don't know if you guys probably know Sean Christian, who's a big carpet python guy from the past. He ran the big carpet python forum back in the forum days. He actually was also local to us, and we purchased 2 proven breeder jungle carpets from him. And we acquired a coastal jaguar, small male. Tony picked it up in a show in Houston. And at the time, the Jaguar morph had just really been available in the United States, maybe.
And how much did you pay for it? That's the big question.
I think we paid between $5,000 and $10,000 for it.
That's okay. So you were like, what, late 90s then? Or would have that been early 2000s?
No, it would have been early 2000s.
I'm trying to think, what, 2002, 2003, I think is when the Jags started being available. See, my first Jag, I paid $3,000 for it. So I was a little bit later, but that was a lot of money.
Yeah. Yep. Yeah. So it would have been early 2000s, probably 2003, 2004, maybe. And so we got had that trio. And we just worked that for quite some time. And it turned out to be that the jungle jags were phenotypically more desirable than the coastal jags. They were brighter, they were lighter, they just looked really nice. And then we got into some other projects. We got into the zebra project. I was the first one to ever produce an ocelot zebra jag back, again, mid 2000s. And I produced, I think at that time, Tony had gotten out of keeping reptiles. He'd gone through a divorce and he was out. So I was on my own, but he taught me a lot. And so I produced a lot of ocelot jungle jags. And then I started introducing diamonds into the mix. So diamond ocelot jags and zebra jags and jungle jags. And so that was really my main thing. That and ball pythons, probably 50-50 as far as production numbers and revenue and all that kind of stuff. So yeah, that went on for a decade. And then there's some crossover, as you guys probably know, between carpet pythons and green tree pythons. And finally, a couple of my carpet python guys convinced me to get a green tree. And, best move I ever made.
Did you ever do the Carpondo?
I tried the Carpondo project for a decade, and it was nothing but heartbreaking. I had all levels. I had 50%ers, 75%ers, GTP, 75 and 50% GTP Carpondros, but I could never I could never do it. I lost two beautiful females trying to do it, many locks on many different levels, many different pairs. And I was never successful. So I abandoned that. I love them. I have two in my facility still. 50% that Tony Jerome produced. I don't know if you guys know that name.
Yeah.
He's a Texas carpet guy as well. He just happened to have a great pair that just spit them out. So I got one of his original 50/50s, and then I acquired a 75% here recently. But I've had 75% of my collection, just beautiful animals.
So when you say 75 GTP, and were you always doing male GTP to female jungles, or what were you breeding?
Well, the 50% male Carpondros are sterile to my knowledge. But the females,
I've heard that, yeah.
You know, I don't know anybody that's personally found a 50/50 male that's been fertile, but the females are fertile or can be. So I was breeding green tree males to 50% Carpondro females.
Okay, so your goal was to try to create 75%.
Yes.
Are the 75% hybrid 75 GTPs are the male fertile, or are they sterile as well?
Unknown. At least I don't know. I was never successful. There's just been a handful of them produced. It's pretty uncommon, to produce a 75% GTP Carpondro. And I don't think anybody's ever produced an 88%. But so I think it's, I think they're beautiful animals. It just didn't work out for me. But I'm glad other people have had success with the project.
Yeah, I mean, they're gorgeous. Like, if you do want to talk about one of the nicest, most iconic hybrids, I agree. And what I love about that animal is that it's a hybrid that will never be confused. You know it's not a green tree, and you know it's not a carpet. It's just, and even the 75%. But even the 75%.
Like, meaning it's like part carpet, like it's got some features of carpet python and it has the features of green tree. I've owned one in my life. So
have you? I think the 50s. I think the 50/50s look phenotypically more like carpet pythons. But the 75%ers, you can definitely tell a difference. I think a lot of hybrid people that are anti-hybrid is because what you alluded to, Dom, is that, well, there'll be some mix up in, especially the 75%, 88%, like an 88% diamond python. Some of those you can't tell from a pure.
Yeah, and that's where my issue is. Like, an 88% diamond, I find, is the dumbest thing ever. It makes no sense because you're creating an animal that looks like a pure diamond. So then all you're doing is that animal is going to be pushed back out there and it's going to be a new pure snake to somebody else. And to me, that's, yeah, but you won't know, right? Compared to a 75, there's never going to be any issues with the Carpondros. It's just, they're obvious. And that's what I like.
Especially the fact that they're probably infertile. The 75%ers are probably infertile.
So this leads me to the, sorry, go for it, Shan.
I was just saying I didn't know that they were being fertile. That's I had no idea. Learned something new.
Yeah, well, like one of the species concept is that that you always learned in school was if two animals breed together and create an infertile animal, that makes it a true different species, right? Like the mule is from a donkey and a horse, right? That was one of the species concept that is there, but we also know that if you breed a tiger to a lion, it creates a fertile liger or whatever. And I mean, that doesn't mean that they're the same species. So that's doesn't automatically mean, but it's kind of cool. It's kind of cool to know that. So just by curiosity, did you ever create a pure carpet python, or were you always a Frankenstein hybrid right off the bat?
Yeah, right off the bat, Frankenstein. I don't think I ever produced anything that was pure. And I think that probably came to my upcoming in ball pythons, where the goal was to make an animal that looked completely unlike a normal ball python. That was just, that was the goal. to throw as many genes together in an animal and produce something that looks completely unlike the natural state. That was always appealing to me, and so I think that's where the carpet python thing kind of went. And back in the day, I think now, and you can correct me if I'm wrong, there's a lot of leniency between people that work with pure species and subspecies, and then the people like me that worked with the the outcrossing of the subspecies or the species. But back then it was, you could get in a barroom brawl over the shit. There's some people that were really, really anti, breeding a coastal to a jungle and a diamond to a jungle and all that kind of stuff. So how does it stand today? How's the carpet community today?
You want to go first, Shan?
I don't mind it. As long as it's well represented. I think that's where Dom's gonna lay some info on there. I know how Dom is. I'm a purist now. I don't breed any jag, and nothing towards anybody. I don't know. I just have issues. I know they sell really well, but I have a problem with, like, the person starts asking, like, why is it doing that? And why, like, I just, then you have to be honest. And I don't want to have those conversations, right? I don't know. It's my personal choice on that.
Sure.
I don't cross. I stopped doing that now that I understand it a little bit better. I don't know. To me, it's nothing. I still love looking at, like, Don Patterson stuff, and, like, some people will be like, why is he doing that? Right. Blah, blah, blah. And I'm like, that's cool. We all have our own likes, and it sells really well. It looks really awesome. But I mean, not everybody likes the Brettle diamond stonewash coastal carpet or whatever, right? You can all mix together. It makes a really cool looking snake. But I feel like some people, I don't know. You don't want to misrepresent the stuff. That's the big thing. I'm big about that, right?
For sure.
If you're gonna say that, a lot of people, like, online on Carpet Python group, where they say, hey, this guy tells me it's a jungle carpet. Can you tell me what it is? Well, you should be asking the breeder first of all, and then the breeder should tell you what it is. Everybody has a guess of what it is. Usually you can tell if it's a mud or not, but I mean,
not always.
not
That's
always, right?
That's where reputation and documentation really,
Right.
it comes into play for sure.
Yeah. So my opinion's a bit different. I think right now the carpet community is there's definitely both camps. There's a lot of people still doing pure only, and there's a lot of people that are doing the Frankenstein thing. And I think it's great. I think there's room for both. I think that only works when there's enough people that stick to the pure, right? We'll take an example for the States, having Nick Mutton there that only does pure and has been doing pure carpet pythons forever, is the saving grace of carpet python, because he pushes so much pure stuff out there that there's always going to be, as long as Nick is there, right? And there's a couple of other people, but he's one of the main guy that produces a lot of pure, and I think it makes a really big difference. Carpet pythons are Australian animals. There's only so many coming in, right? And by so many, I mean nothing. Yeah, there's none. There's no more pure carpets coming in, except popwins, but we're going to ignore popwins. So the community is split. So I'm just a purist. I think we only have so much. What are we letting for the community to come after? Like, if I mix all my carpets with other things, then it's just more mud out there that other people aren't going to be able to get anything else. So my opinion is you shouldn't. But if you do, and it's your animal in your box, you're free to do whatever. If you do, just go crazy with it. Okay. That's my opinion. I think you should go completely wild with it. Don't do don't do an 88% diamond. Do a stonewash, hypo, reduced pattern, diamond jungle, coastal. Go absolutely nuts so that it's obvious. I absolutely hate it when people are going to be like, well, I have a 75% jungle to 25% coastal and I'm breeding it to pure jungle. Okay, then why are you doing that? Like, it's just garbage. You're creating 88% jungle, 12.5% coastal. It's just crap. So
Yeah.
my opinion is do it. And when it comes to green trees are so different, right? Because when green trees started being bred, they were green trees. They were one species, right? So the history of GTPs is so different than our community. You guys started not having four different, and I think right now it's down to four different species, but all that lineage came from hybridizing without knowing you were hybridizing. In your mind, everybody was breeding pure green tree python, right? So I find the history and the background of green trees really makes it very different than the history of carpets. Because carpets, you could choose to do pure, you could choose to do Frankenstein. With green trees, you didn't have a choice. Like when you started, you didn't know any better. Like at what point, what has it been? It's been maybe 10 years that we've officially split them, or is it even less than that?
I think right around 10 years, 8 to
Yeah.
10 years. But Dom, there were always guys that did locality specific stuff. So if you were breeding a Roo to a Roo or Biak to Biak, you were not creating hybrids. It was the designer guys and the locality outcrosses that were making hybrids unknowingly. And we know that now, but we still do it.
And again, there's nothing wrong with it. I don't think there's anything wrong with it at all. I just think we need both guys, right? Like when you say maybe like Ryan Young
Yeah.
will never mix his Arus with his, except the one clutch I think he did of hybrids, which you guys love to bring up. But
And Dom, Ryan is one of my very best friends. I mean, especially in the reptile community, there's a pack of us, and he's one of them. And we're the classic example of two guys that think on totally different levels with green tree pythons. But we still respect what each other has done and our passions about. You know, we realize we're not doing any harm. He realizes I'm not doing any harm by creating hybrids. It's not like I'm going to go out and release these into the wild, or I'm going to misrepresent them. We represent them what we know, and we don't always, like you said, 10 years ago, we didn't know what we know now. But there's certainly room in our community for both. There's some locality people, there's some designer people, and there's a lot of people that do both.
and that's what's amazing about green trees, right? Like I really don't care what people do with their green trees. I just won't buy, like when somebody is like a wild caught Aru and breeds it to a wild caught Biak, I honestly don't understand why you're doing that. I don't see the point in doing that. I think you're just doing it because that's the only two snakes you have in your collection. But again, if you're going to go crazy, go crazy. Buy like all the animals that have lineage. But if you're just going to create an Aru to a Biak and breed your two and then call it a designer, it's not. You just cross two species together and create a hybrid that you might be able to do something with eventually or mix to something else. I don't know. I feel like you should have a goal in mind with your
Okay.
hybridization.
So what was your plan? Because I thought you told me that Biak was like, that was what you were going to bring into certain projects. I don't know.
You're talking to me now?
Yes, you.
Absolutely.
Absolutely.
To me.
Absolutely you, man.
So
Because you were
what's-
like thinking about green trees and you're like, well, we got to get Biaks. We got to do that. And I'm like, I know you're breeding them pure, right? Pure Biaks. But I thought you were going to take a Biak and put it to something else. Am I not correct?
when's the last time you've ever heard me say that I want to breed two different species together of anything? It's been a long time. So no,
Maybe
I-
I misunderstood that.
I have zero intentions on ever mixing two different species of green tree.
I mean,
That being said, I love Biaks. I think Biaks have got to be my favorite. I think they're the nicest looking wild type locality / species of green trees. I love their look. I like that they're bigger. I find that their head structure to just be a really nice looking green tree. So 100% I want to bring green trees, but I want Walcotts. I want all my animals to be Walcott because I want to know, well, for sure. I'm saying for sure. In my opinion, it's the closest that we can get to it for sure that this is a true pure locality animal. I mean, we're banking on the fact that the exporter actually got them from where they say they got them, and the guy who picked them from there. But so that's what I want to do.
I think you can get reliably captive bred Biaks from
100%. Agreed. Agreed.
And I would encourage you to go that route over imported wild Biaks. Only because I think your chance of success would be higher with a captive bred Biak. And I really do think people like Patrick Holmes, that has been in this game for a very, very long time. I'm really very confident. If you want it in a root, go to Ryan Young. But there are people in the States that do breed captive bred Biaks, and their phenotype is just so unique. It's really, really hard to mistake a Biak for anything else. So,
I 100%, and I'm very pro captive bred. Like I've literally never owned a wild caught snake. Okay, that's not true. I've owned one wild caught green tree python in the 90s. So, but except for that, my entire collection is captive bred. Everything is Australian, right? So I'm very pro captive bred. That being said,
some scrubs.
Oh, that's true. You're right. We have 2 wild caught scrubs. Okay, but they're not even. They're half mine, but they've never been in my house. So I'm going to say I've never owned them.
Just giving you a hard time.
That's like
I'm just giving you a hard time.
I drove the car, but I didn't rob the bank.
Right.
That's right.
Yeah. Valid point. Thanks, Shan, for calling me a liar. I appreciate it. But my point is, though, to me, it's a big thing about one. I actually want to try to do wild caught animals because I find it interesting. It's something I've never done. Right. I've been keeping snakes for over 30 years. I've bred many different species, mainly in the Morelia complex and the Liasis complex. But to me, it's a challenge. Now, the second thing is the financial aspect, right? I have a hard time. So there has been a couple of clutches of pure Biaks that have been produced in Canada. There's 2 specifically that I can, and we can actually import them from the States, but it just costs more money and it's more of a pain in the ass. Buying from Canada is just easier. Literally, you buy it and they ship it for $100 and it appears at your house. There's no permits. There's nothing. It's just easier. But the price point, I mean, if I get 2 captive bred Biaks, it would cost me about $1,500 each, so $3,000. Or I can import, I don't know, at $250, give or take each. So I could get 12 wild caughts instead of 2 captive bred. So my brain is going, I can guarantee I can get 80% of those to survive. I know I can. I've kept snakes long enough to know that I'm going to do well enough with them, even if I lose half of them. If I lose half of them with them, I have 6 wild caughts that are going to be most likely different lineage, maybe not. But to me, like, think of all the phenotypes I could have. Like, I just feel like there's so much more that I can gain from it. Now,
I had no idea you could get imported Biaks for $250.
I have a way of getting them for really cheap. If you are able to bypass all the different ladders and the different people, like go directly to the importer, I could actually import myself. So I've got my import and export permit. I could 100% do it myself if I wanted to. And we almost went through with it. So I could do it myself. And in that case, it's even cheaper than $250. And keep in mind, we're talking about, this is Canadian dollars. So on average, if you were to import right now and buy it from the person who brought it in, you're probably looking at about, what do you think, like $650, give or take? About is how much we'd pay for them.
That's about that.
So about $650, maybe less. I know how to get them for a lot cheaper, like basically at the import price.
Yeah.
So just like, I find it hard to get 2 captive bred for that price when I could probably get so many more that, I'd rather raise 10 and see where they go. Because it's a lottery, right? You might end up getting we're talking about Biaks. You might end up getting a Biak that's going to be fully green with no yellow. And you might end up getting one that has like 10, 15, 20% yellow all over it, right? So I don't know.
Yep. So it's a captive bred. It's a crapshoot with the captive bred stuff too.
I know, but the numbers is on your side with wild caught. So, and I wouldn't recommend it to somebody who's never cared for snakes. But like, if I told you to bring in 5 or 6 wild caughts. Like, do you think you'd be able to take care of them? Do you think you'd be able to raise them?
Yeah, I would. I think
Yeah.
so.
So what do you think your mortality rate would be? Like, just if I'm giving you 10 wild caught green tree pythons that are BX,
I would say probably the number one factor would depend on its size.
neos.
Uh,
I would only get neos.
yeah.
I would get the small under a year old.
Dom, I'm just, to be honest, the wrong person to ask. I mean, I have no experience with it. I mean, if you want to
Oh yeah,
shoot a
I
number
really
off the
thought you
cuff,
did.
what's that?
I really thought you did, Bill. That you had experience bringing them in and dealing with that. No.
I
Okay.
have brought in one captive, one wild caught. It was a manicory. I still have her. She was a beautiful red baby. I established her, no problem. But having said that, I don't know. I think 7 out of 10 would be a reasonable number. You know, I mean,
That's
if you got them and they were healthy, you know, then they weren't, they weren't lackadaisical, or they weren't, they didn't look depressed when they came in. I think 7 out of 10 would be a good number.
See, I'm putting my number at 50% just to go lower, just in case. And at 50%, I feel that I'm still ending up with something better than 2 captive bred. So that's the avenue I want to go down. Is it something I'd recommend for everybody? No, but I'm not, it doesn't really worry me. I'm not like, and then we can go.
I think you're putting yourself a little low, Dom. I think you could do a 7 too.
I probably could.
I have all the food you can think of. I've done the techniques. I really think, I don't know.
I think we'd do great. But in the end, I'm putting it at 50% just to say, even if I lose half the animals I bring in, I still end up in a better place than only having 2. And
Well,
that's,
I can. The only thing that I would say is my very first. I take it back. My second clutch of captive bred green tree pythons. You know what my survivability rate was? 40%. I got 40% of them eating. 60% died because I couldn't get them to eat.
okay, but where are you at now? What's your, let's say right now you have, how many babies did you have this year?
Well, I know where you're going. Now I'm at 90 to 95%
Okay.
rate of establishment. If it comes out of the egg and it perches, 90 to 95% are going to get established. But my first my first clutch, you think because you've fed a bunch of baby carpet pythons and other species, green trees are different. They just are. They're not necessarily harder, but there's a learning curve like everything. And I had hatched, I promised you, 1,000 baby carpet pythons, but it did nothing to my technique of feeding baby green trees.
So can you go into a little bit of detail on how to feed your green trees and establish your green trees?
How about this? To go in the establishing, why don't you start with the first clutch you ever had of green trees? How did you establish that, and how did that evolve to now?
Yeah, that was interesting. My very first clutch was a pair of Arus that were probably long-term captives. And I did the thing that I tell people probably not the best idea to do now after the experience and the experience of others. But I did acquire a pair of Arus, and they did produce a very small clutch. I think I had 6 or 7 babies, and the eggs were huge and the babies were huge. And Arus are notoriously one of the most difficult locality types to get established, but they were the easiest thing. I thought to myself, what are these idiots been doing for 2 decades? They can't get these babies to eat. They were just the easiest things in the world. And in fact, Eric Burke got one of those babies. I'm sure you guys know my bro, Eric Burke. He ended up killing it. But that's neither here.
I love that part. And that ended up killing green tree.
Sorry, Eric. We don't mean to laugh about it.
I'm laughing at you, Eric. I love
We
it.
laugh about it. We laugh about it all the time. But in fact, Eric is going to get another green tree python later this year from me. He's got the itch again, and so I'm gonna send him something later this year. But back to, that was clutch 1, and that's, beginner's luck or whatever you want to call it. It just was what it was. My second clutch was the exact opposite. I think I had a robust, maybe 16 animals, and this was the clutch that the sickness came from. Okay, so the second clutch I ever produced, I produced one of the most prolific melanistic green tree pythons of all time. And luckily he was one of the 40% that survived, but it was brutal. It was just, I just couldn't get these things to eat. I watched videos, I talked to people. I used chick down. I tried to assist feed, but the assist feeding, I'd assist fed baby carpets before, not very many because most of those things, they didn't need to be assist fed. But my assist feeding trials were ridiculous. I killed a couple trying to assist feed them. I just didn't have any technique. And, again, it's not rocket science. It's not brain surgery, but there is something about just you being there. And sometimes in this clutch, every single one can have a different way it wants to eat. Some of them need to be teased hardly almost until they get so pissed off they fly off the perch. Others need to be just very gently, just up to the nose. They don't even strike and wrap it. They just open up their mouth and just slowly swallow it. And it's just not a cookie cutter type process. It's just, it's just a lot of things go into it, and experience and patience is one of them. And just not getting frustrated, trying different times of day and night. I don't even try to get a baby to eat without chick down scenting it. I mean, every single baby green tree, I establish its first trials with a frozen thawed, now ASF pink, used to be mice pinks.
I was actually going to ask you that, Bill. So let's say you just have 20 babies born today. Do you mind going with the exact steps of what it is that you would do? So like your first step is wait a month till they shed. Then the next step is ASF chick scented. Do you mind going through with what it is in your head that you do now that works for you? I think you're kind of going down that route, but.
Yeah, I've experimented with different things. Some people, and I being one of them, have experimented with first feeding before the first shed. And I've had success with that, but what's ironic is that I found the ones that ate pre-shed tended to be the most difficult feeders after they shed. So they would take a meal before they'd shed, and then I couldn't get them to eat again. So I went away from that, and so now my typical routine is, and they'll shed pretty quick, within 10 to 14 days. And I'll usually give them a day or 2 days after that, and then I'll start my first trial. And it is with a chick down scented day-old ASF pink. And when I say day-old, I mean day-old. Like it can't be 3 days old. It's too big.
Live or frozen thawed?
Frozen thawed. I found just with the frozen thawed that if they're squirming around on the tongs, it just makes it harder to get that direct strike right in the head, right in the face, which is what you want that baby green tree to strike. You don't want a mid-body strike. You don't want a back-end strike. I mean, it just has to be right on the face. And so I've always just gone straight frozen thawed, ASF day-old pink, heated up in hot water, and chick scented, and then approach that way. And
have you ever used? Sorry, no, go ahead.
I was going to say, and depending how they do, they may get one meal. If they just scarf that down right away, well, then the second meal is non-chick scented. If I really have to work them, then I'll just keep giving them chick scented until they take that readily, and then I'll wean them off the chick down.
Okay, so let's say 50% of the clutch doesn't eat that. Where do you go from there?
Yeah, again, just be patient. I'm not in there trying the next day or 2 days later. I'll give them a week. And, if they don't eat that week, I'll give them another week. And this is where one of the differences Ryan Young and I have. He's much more likely to wait out week, month, 6 weeks, 2 months before intervening. And I'm much more likely to intervene if they miss maybe that third meal. If they don't eat after 3 or 4 weeks, I'm going to assist feed them.
Will you try?
Sorry, go ahead.
No, go for it, Shan. I talked too much, so go for it.
I feel if the neonate is like too weak, it won't be able to eat. I feel like,
Yeah, I don't want to get
you know
behind
what
the
I
curve.
mean?
Yeah, I don't want to
Right.
get behind
Exactly.
the curve.
Exactly. I feel like if you get ahead of it, I feel like if it's 2 months, it could be okay, but I feel like it could have lost a lot of, depending on how its body looks, is what I really feel like. If its body doesn't look good, I feel
And
like you need to intervene, like
yeah,
you can't let it
I
go.
think you need to intervene before the body doesn't look good.
Yeah,
I think
absolutely.
once it's
Absolutely.
starting to look, lackadaisical, or once it
Right.
starts to look, I think you've waited too long. And I'll say one other thing: it depends on the reaction. So if this thing is just automatically, it just jumps off the perch and it runs with the most minimal amount of teasing, I'm much more likely to assist feed that animal than one that will strike, wrap, and then drop. Sometimes they'll strike, they'll wrap,
Right.
they'll drop, they won't eat. That's one where I would go to feeding it a head. So just pinky head on the tongs. It'll strike, and most of the time you can get it stuck in its mouth, and then it learns to swallow. And then maybe it takes 2 or 3 pink heads. Maybe that if they'll do that every 3 days, I'll give them a pink head. And then eventually after 3 4 5 pink heads, then they'll take the whole thing. I think a lot of these things, they think that the pink is just too big to eat, so they'll strike it, they'll wrap it, they'll put it in their mouth, and then they'll just drop it because
Agreed.
I think they think it's too big or it's too heavy. So again, it's one of these things where it just depends. It depends on the scenario. I can't give you just a formula or a recipe for when to assist feed every neo. It depends on what they're doing, how they look, their response to trials.
Are they heavily distracted? I don't know if you understand my question with that. So a carpet python, you go to feed him, and it's like sometimes you kind of got to stay still to make sure that he's not like gonna drop it on you. You know what I mean? You
Uh,
kind of
uh,
like got to be there and just like,
uh,
okay,
uh,
okay, just wait, wait,
uh,
wait, wait.
uh,
He's watch.
uh,
He's watching you. I just
uh,
have a feeling he's
uh,
watching
uh,
you, right?
dude, I'll tell you, I can't tell you how many times I will present a pinky. It will take it, it will strike it, it'll wrap it, and I don't even move my hands or the tongs. Because if I do this, they drop it. I will sit here like this
Okay,
for 10 to 12 minutes. My arm gets tired
I
but
know.
but if I do this movement, he sees it
It's
and he
it's
drops it.
over. It's game over, right? Yeah,
Yep.
absolutely. You got to
So
start all over again.
yeah, you got to
Yeah,
start
that
all
must
over.
that must be hard. Um, do you do any chicken gizzards anymore? Not at all.
That's interesting. I was all about the chicken gizzards. I thought I'd found kind of a magic bullet, and they they ate chicken gizzards great. I thought, man, what a much better source of protein and nutrients than a mouse pink. And so I had 1 year where I established everything on chicken gizzards, and maybe their first 10 meals were chicken gizzards until I could get a prey item up to size that maybe like had some fur on it. This was before I was using ASFs religiously. But I found out that as time went on and they ate those chicken gizzards, a good amount of them, probably at least half of them, developed an unusual body tone to them. And I think they were getting an overdose of one of the vitamins in the gizzard. So
Can you
I've gone,
describe the body tone? Like, what do you mean by that?
um, it wasn't a neurological, it didn't look neurological like a spider or a jaguar wobble. Um, but it just looked like abnormal body tone. So not a normal body tone, if that makes any sense. Um, but the good thing about that is that it was reversible. And when I stopped feeding the chicken gizzards and I introduced just normal rodent prey, that went away in all of them. So I think a chicken gizzard is still something that I would utilize. I would utilize it. I just wouldn't utilize it exclusively. Like if I was assist feeding, it's a great thing to assist feed. So much easier than a pink. It's got structure. It's
Right.
firm. You can cut it into the exact piece that you want. You just
Fillet
stick it
it.
down. Goes
Yeah.
down so easy. So it's super easy to readily get them in any grocery store. but I wouldn't use it exclusively anymore.
Yeah, so I've been listening to all that, and so I do like maybe a starter meal of that, and then I try to offer ASF pinks. I have a lot of that stuff. But
So you have
oh
used
yeah,
it.
ASF pinks. Oh,
No,
for chicken
chicken
gizzard.
gizzard.
Oh, I
Yeah.
do. Yes. So
Okay.
that's how I get the pygmies started. Pygmy
Okay.
pythons.
Gotcha.
So
Gotcha.
I have something that's really small, like, and trust me, try to get a pinky down its mouth or its throat or something. It doesn't work, right? It's too big.
Yeah.
And then, so the next best thing is tails. And then I had issues with tails. I don't think they were getting enough. So I went to the next best thing, which is when listening to all these podcasts. And I'm like, think outside the box. You know, you got to kind of do these things. So started filleting chicken gizzards. I actually had better success with that. But
Yeah.
this year, I started them off with that. Well, not this year, last year. Sorry, we didn't have any this year. Dom didn't.
No. We had pygmies. I just killed everything. It's very different. Very different. We did. I had one clutch that I didn't notice was laid and just dried in the cage. And my other one, I tried maternal incubation, which I will never, ever do again, and killed all the eggs too. So we did have 2 clutches. I'm an idiot and I fucked up. But thanks for bringing it up, Shan. Keep going.
No
I
problem.
appreciate that.
Anytime.
Thank you.
When you did have pygmies,
Yes. So I was the one killing them at the time. But
This was me.
so yeah, for the last few years, I've been the one working with them. So the deal with Dom and I is, so Dom, I don't know, I'll say it straight out, Dom, you don't have enough patience. And you have me. So that's what it is. So you you send them to me, and that's fine. We have a great understanding. So I've learned a lot, getting them feeding. And then, so the first time I got 2 going, and he said, you know, keep them. So I kept them. That was my pay for getting them going. But he says, you know, once we do that, we'll go half on it on the babies, right? So that's our thing. And the last time around, I'm like, we had a trio, and we sold them to somebody, and we made it. Well, he made his money back. I was like, here you go. You deserve to make your money back. I'm all right. Give me a break for the year. But no, that's what we do. Yeah.
So you still have them, or you do not have them anymore?
No, we still do.
Yeah.
So you have the
We still have the adults.
adults.
Shan should be breeding some this year, and I still have my trio that pops out every year.
Close.
I mean, yeah. So yes, I am. I am. I do lack some patience when it comes to feeding babies, but I think it's more that I used to do every single trick in the book and do everything to get babies. I've kind of shifted from that to the point that I'm going to try. You don't take it. I leave it in the box. I close the box and I'll come back tomorrow. If it doesn't work, I'll take out the rodent and try again in 3-4 days. And I do it. And I'm at the point now where if that animal doesn't want to just eat what it is that I'm feeding it, and it's not like, let's say, a pygmy or a black-headed python or an animal that it should be troublesome. You know what I mean? So if it's like a carpet python, man, all carpet pythons eventually eat. So if it doesn't eat, it's just going to wait. And if it takes 6 months, it's going to wait 6 months. And if it's going to die, it's going to die. Like, I'm just at that point is that I'd rather just have the animal eat on its own. I don't remember the last time I force-fed animal. So I'll be honest with you, except for the pygmies, I haven't force-fed anything in years, and I used to all the time. I just don't anymore. But in the end, I might end up, if I produce 100 babies, I'll maybe lose 1 or 2 every year that just never chose to establish. And there's a part of me that just feels like if that baby doesn't want to do what every other animal's been doing, and these animals are domesticated at this point. I mean, nothing's been imported from Australia in 80 years. So these are domesticated snakes that have been feeding on, your typical rodent diet. So they should be doing it. So I just feel like if it won't eat, then it might as well die, because we don't want that animal to be reproducing and to be pushing more of those babies that are trouble feeders. So am I impatient? Yes, sure. I'm taking the easy road out, but they tend to, like 95 to 98% of them all eventually eat my frozen thawed rodent, or the live rodent. I will get live rodents from Shan. And if I'm too lazy, I just tell them, take all my trouble feeders. You can do it because I'm not going to do it. I'm just going to keep trying to feed them frozen thawed, and they'll eventually either eat or they won't.
There are some green tree python breeders that will also not assist feed. And it's either based on your theory, Dom, where they don't want to, they don't want to propagate a potential problem feeder, producing more problem feeders, or there's some people that just aren't comfortable doing it. A good friend of mine, he's a big guy, he's got big hands and big fingers, and he just really, really struggles to get a tiny little worm in his hand and assist feed it, where he just feels comfortable. So he doesn't. But I will say that I've had many occasions where after one assist meal, one assist feeding, it kicks them on and they go on and they thrive. So I don't think that's an animal that you have to worry about breeding and then producing a bunch of babies that won't eat. And I can tell you, I've had enough animals, holdbacks, that I've had to assist feed and have then raised them up and produced them, and their offspring are not problem feeders across the board.
So I'm a bit of a hypocrite too, I got to say it, because it depends on the value of the animal. So when I'm going to produce rough scale pythons, I can guarantee you they will all eat. And if I have to force feed them, I will. When I produce finely diamonds, same thing. I can guarantee you they will all eat. And if I have to force feed them, 100% I'm going to force feed them. There's no question about even letting one die. So, when you produce that really high...
Send them to my place. You'll send them to my place.
So
just like the hypo tiger at my place right now.
Okay, there's one really good looking carpet that I produce. I'm like, don't let that one die. Make it survive.
I'm not making this shit up.
But I call myself a hypocrite. So when it comes to higher, let's be honest, the best looker of the clutch is often the one that doesn't eat. We've all had that. And which animal will you limp along? You'll limp along that one, right? Like, sure. And maybe it's because I have one carpet python that many years ago, I finally hit an albino granite, which is an animal you don't see often. I was like, it's really cool. It is the worst feeder I've ever had of my entire collection. And I've been limping along this animal now for 3.5 years. It is a 3.5-year-old snake that is about 14 inches long, living in a 6-cord bin. Okay, it should be 6+ feet, but the goddamn thing won't eat. It only eats pinkies, nothing else. So it doesn't grow. It's eating a sack of water every week and it doesn't grow. So I don't even know what to do. And why do I have this animal? Because it's an albino granite.
Isn't that a Frankenstein production though?
Yeah, it is. It is. Yes and no. I could argue and say it's pure. But it is a Frankenstein.
It's pure.
It have to be. It's not Darwin. It's not pure Darwin.
Actually, but so I did do there was 2 projects that I used to do that was a little bit a mix, but a Darwin and a Papuan now are technically both Morelia, not Harrisoni. Harrisoni used to be Papuan, Variegata. So they're both Variegata. So they're technically now both the same species. They've been they were genetically tested and they're basically identical. There is some slight variation, but Papua has been separated for what I think 20, 30,000 years. Not enough that land bridge has disappeared. So they're not separated enough to be a true species. So technically speaking, no, it is not a Frankenstein. It's a pure species. But 100%, it's a hybrid.
Back in my day, it would have been.
No, I still think it's a Frankenstein species. And I'm not breeding it. I'm just saying I have one. So
if you say that's okay, then that would be saying like the gelatin albinos would be okay. And I just don't think that's not right.
Yeah, but yes. Thanks for pointing it out. It is.
but you still, that animal is still alive.
So that's where I'm getting at. That animal's alive and I've put it in huge cages and now it eats every week in a 6-cord bin. Think about it. A 4-year-old carpet python living in a 6-cord bin and it eats. And it's barely bigger. It's smaller than a yearling. So it's freaking tiny. But I've force fed it for the first year. I finally got it. And now it eats on its own every single week, pinkies, but it grabs wraps, holds it for 10 minutes. And then I find it on the ground. Then I got to do it again. And about the 3rd or 4th, it'll actually swallow it.
Yeah.
And it's the biggest pain in my ass. It will never reproduce again. Never. It's never going to be big enough to reproduce. So why do I have this thing? And so maybe that animal has had a lot to do with the why I don't force feed animals anymore. Maybe it's just because it's too much work. I don't know. Maybe I'm lazy. I don't know. And I've done it all. I've force fed more animals than you can imagine. And I, like you're saying, a lot of them, it's 1 or 2 meals and then they turn on. You're 100% right. It does very often work. So if I had green tree pythons and I had my first clutch, I'll be 100% honest. They will all eat. And if they're not eating, 100% I will force feed them after about, I'm going to say, a month after the feeding trials start. That's probably where my head would be going. So, but why would I do that? Because of everything I've heard of people that have more experience than me. That seems to be the right way to go. And that is what I would do now after doing it multiple years. Would I alter from that? Maybe. I'm sure I'm
Yeah,
going to
you should.
develop what
You
works for
should.
me.
Absolutely. You should, based on your own experience. Your own
Uh,
experience is your best teacher.
so the only thing is, from what I'm noticing, is you're trying only one thing though. You're only doing frozen thawed ASF scented with chick down, and after let's say the 4th week of not, you're going directly to assist feeding. I'm not going to say force feed, assist feeding to a certain extent. You don't try anything else. You don't try leaving it in the cage. You don't try a live ASF. You don't try a mice. You don't try anything, any other options.
I really don't. I've tried other options. I've tried leaving a live in there. I've tried feeding it, different times, day, night. I just have not found that it's made a significant difference. And probably the reason is that, and just with my experience level now, the number of animals that I assist feed is so small. It just really is. It's less than 10% of everything that I produce every year. So I'm not assist feeding that many. And, again, it's like what you talked about, Dom, over time, experience, years, you just develop what works for you. And, could I get a live ASF and put it in there? I sure could. My buddy Alex breeds ASFs and mice in my building on the 2nd floor. But the times I've tried it, it hasn't worked. And it's just so easy to just grab it and assist feed it, for me now. It's just like nothing. So I just found something that works for me. And with assist feeding and just establishing it, it is so rare that I can't get one to eventually go. It happens, but it certainly isn't every year. Maybe every couple of years, unless of course there's some kind of genetic issue with it. I had a clutch 3 years ago where half of the animals prolapsed, which, that's an incredibly high prolapse rate. There was something genetically wrong with those animals. They were difficult to eat, difficult to get eating. Even when I got them eating, they'd prolapse. And so taking animals like that out of the mix, it's just, with enough time and experience, it's just the necessity to assist feed is very small.
How many of
I've heard
those
you.
survived?
How many of those survived?
Yeah.
Yeah, I think maybe, gosh, less than half of that clutch survived. I think maybe 4 animals survived out of that clutch.
So I've heard you talk about that. My curiosity is that, do you think it was just parent A to parent B that were creating that? And have you tried breeding parent A to something different and parent B to something different? And did the crossing them elsewhere then together, have any of those offsprings caused you to have like a massive prolapse? Like, I feel like I would be curious to see did it come from mom? Did it come
Yeah.
from dad? Or did it come from just mom and dad together that was the problem?
Yeah, I don't know exactly that answer. I can tell you that I bred the male to a different female, and those neonates didn't have any issues. I bred the female to a different male, and she slugged out and retained slugs. So, and that's the last time I bred her. She's still alive, but maybe it was her. Maybe it was an issue on her end. I knew I would never repeat that pairing, that particular pairing. There's just no reason to. Why test the waters when you think they're murky? So to answer your question, I don't know.
Yeah, I would 100% would have bred out each of them.
Yeah.
It sounds like the male's not the problem.
Male's not the problem.
The female, I mean, that's 2 clutches in a row that you've had issues with her.
Yep.
So it makes you think maybe it's the female, but that's just an assumption. But
Maybe it's her or maybe it's them. But yeah, I don't think it's him.
Yeah, fair enough. Um, the next place where, unless Shan, did you want to talk about a bit more about feeding? If not, I'm going to switch it up a bit. No. So the next thing I wanted to know is two things. So I've heard you talk about Alex a lot, right? So where
Yeah.
does Alex fit in with you, your collection, and dare I say rudely, your age and where you're going on, right? Because I think it's one of my concern is I'm getting old. Shan's getting old, and I'm not gonna like you're not 30 anymore. I'm not 30. I'm 45. Shan's in his low 50s. You're a little bit higher. At some point, we all know that this is gonna have to slim down and be tougher, right? So
Yep.
I'm kind of curious to talk about that aspect with Alex because I maybe I'm misunderstanding, but it seems like Alex is kind of moving in or
Well, he's literally moving in.
okay. So do you mind going into where that's going on and where that's going into your future or the future of Phoenix?
Yeah, absolutely. I've been doing this a long time now, and I'm 60 years old. My wife just retired from her job as a school counselor, and we want to travel more. And I don't have to tell you guys, the number of snakes we keep in the snake room, snake facility. It's a ball and chain. We do it because we love it, but it grounds us here, and we want to do some more traveling. And I'm not going to say I'm burned out with the reptiles, but I've definitely reached my peak, and I'm on the other end of it. And so, Dom, I think we were talking about earlier. Excuse me for 1 second.
I'm thinking he might be going to get
So,
something there.
so is it Alex Warren? Is
Uh,
it just who? Alex? Do we know Alex who?
I actually don't know what the last name is of Alex. It's not.
Because Alex Warren is with Green Trees. Just curious.
It's Alex. It is Alex Warren.
Oh, it
Alex
is. Okay.
Warren
Oh, nice.
had amazing,
Cool.
amazing arboreals.
He
Okay.
is.
And yeah, and I stumbled onto Alex about 5 years ago. Happened to be a local young man. He's the age of my son, and he contacted me and showed he had just gotten his first green tree python, and he wanted to just come over, and he would do anything. And to be honest, I get those messages a lot. Local people that want to come over and I'll help you clean, I'll help you feed. I just want to learn about the animals and whatever. So he came over, and we just developed this relationship. I could tell right off the bat he was serious, he was smart, he was reliable, dependable, and so he just started working here a couple of days a week, just doing exactly what we talked about. Just cleaning cages, fresh water, and just over a period of a few years, we just really connected. And he was so reliable. I had a period in my life where I went through some major surgeries. I had a knee replacement, an ankle fusion, worked through prostate cancer, had a prostatectomy, and he was there the whole time. If I needed him to come every single day, he came every single day. And when I did travel, I'd be out of town for a couple of weeks at a time. He was just there, and he just came to know my collection as well as I know it. And so, and again, I became his mentor, and I think I've taught him quite a bit over the last 5 years about green tree pythons in particular. That's the only thing he has an interest in. No interest in the ball pythons or the carpets. He's just solely focused on green tree pythons. And now I tell people all the time, the student has become the master. He has learned so much here, and now he's teaching me little tricks that he's discovered. So we have an invaluable relationship. And Dom, getting back to your question, he is definitely going to be taking over more hands-on, in the next probably 18 to 24 months. I have gotten rid of 80% of the ball pythons here in the facility, which is a lot. I produced hundreds and hundreds of ball pythons every year for 15 years or longer. But almost all of them are gone. And when the rest of them are gone, and he's going to move his collection in here, and he's just going to be a Monday through Friday guy here. He does green trees full time. I mean, he's very sharp, and he's very fiscally responsible, and he saves his money, and he had a mobile dog grooming business for a number of years, and he just over the last couple of years he's just been able to stop doing that and just do the green tree pythons full time, which is a great credit to him, in just a really relatively short amount of time.
I was going to say, can you imagine being that age, like in your, I'm going to say mid-20s. I don't know exactly his age. Let's say 25.
He's 30.
Okay.
He's 30.
That's pretty cool.
Yeah.
But even then, come on, that would be pretty cool.
Yeah. He's living his dream. It took me to be in my mid-50s, to do it. And now here he's 30 doing it. So
I'm not going to lie to you, Bill. Like, I'm a little jealous because if I want to go on vacation, it's the biggest stressor. And for me, going on vacation, what that means is I stop feeding at least 2 weeks before I leave. And this way everything empties. I get to clean. Then on the few hours before I take the plane, like let's say I take the plane at 5 a.m, or I have to leave at 5 at midnight, I clean my entire collection. I change all the waters. I do everything like to the last minute so that I know they have the freshest water right to the second. If I'm leaving for a week and a half, I think I'm okay because I can leave. My snakes, if they're completely empty, chances are everything should be good for that amount of time. But the only person I have that I could truly trust would be Shan, but Shan's an hour drive away from me. And don't get me wrong, if I needed that because I was leaving for a longer time, 100% I know I could count on him to do it. But I never have because I've never left for that long. But it's a stress, man. It's a problem. The same way that Shan, if he needed to, I don't even know if you have anybody, Shan, that could come over and do that kind of stuff.
You? No.
Yeah.
I have
No.
I have rats on top of that too, so it makes it even tougher. I can't.
Yeah, and that's what, 2 days?
Yeah, 2 days max. I usually can get everything, self-watering systems and all that. Yeah. That's
Last summer I was gone for 18 days. I was in Europe for 18 days.
With no help or Alex's help?
Well, Alex came every other day the entire time I was gone.
So zero stress. You can just leave and you don't care. You know it's good.
I wouldn't say zero stress, but a whole lot less than. And Alex isn't just somebody that can just come over. Like Alex knows this room as well as I do. Like he knows everything. And so it's not just, somebody who's been over here a couple times, he can troubleshoot any problem that would happen. And so, yeah, the stress factor was minimal, but it's still a little stressful.
And it is, but like if Shan came over and I told him like I'm going on surgery for 2 weeks, I can't walk, I would trust him full heartedly. Like I know he could do it the same way that you would do it with that. But like the idea of opening up, so maybe I'm antisocial, and I probably am. Okay, but the idea of letting some random, and I'm going to say kid, because to me a 25-year-old is a kid because my oldest is 25. But the idea of letting a random person come inside my house to clean the snakes with me or to look and like, I don't know, like I've had one or two, not as many as you, but I've had people ask, and I'm like, I'm sorry, man. Like I literally don't let anybody in my house. Like, especially if you have, actually, that's not even true. I'll let random people that are like the friends of my kids, if they let, and I'll show them my snakes. They ask, I'll show them. But if you have snakes, chances are I won't show it to you because I'm actually more afraid of that than the rando person that's like the girlfriend of my son or anything like that, because I know they're not going to bring anything into my collection. But I'm afraid of the guy that's like, I have 17 ball pythons. Can I come and see your snakes? Like, fuck no. Like, there's no chance. There's no chance any of those people are coming into my room because why would I risk it?
Listen,
right? Like,
I get it all the time. And I will say one thing, I've got a dedicated facility on my property. So like people don't have to come into my house, which has been a great thing. But I get it. Dom, I have a party here every September that over 100 people come. And
I know I want to go.
You need to come.
That's so far.
I want to too.
You guys are absolutely both invited. It would be the highlight of the party if you guys came. I've got Canadians that come all the time.
It'd be amazing. But yeah, sorry, keep going. So how do you do it with 100 guests in your room?
So I do. I mean, I just Obviously they're not all in there at the same time, but most of them are reptile people. And it used to be affiliated with the NARBC show. So I would have my party on Friday and the Dallas NARBC would be on Saturday and Sunday. So I did have some loose rules like you can't go to the expo and set up and then come to my party. You can't go to the expo and then come to my facility. Please be responsible and mindful. And, recently, no, for the most part, no animals out. Like you can't come and touch, we're not getting animals out. Although that wasn't always the rule, but it is now. But yeah, it's certainly some amount of risk comes into there, right?
Yeah, I'd be like, nobody, you can't be in your collection within 36 hours of coming to my party, and you have to have a shower, new clothes, and nothing like that. And maybe I'm paranoid, but I mean, like, talk about like the best way of destroying any type of quarantine to your reptile room, right?
Right, right. I mean, I could impose those, but like, who's gonna really follow through if they don't want to? All I can tell you is
You would assume people do, no?
I would assume people are responsible. Again, knock on wood, I've had no issues. Been doing it here. God, I did Texas Carpet Fest for 10 years at my house in Arlington. But here, I moved 8 years ago, been doing it 7 or 8 years here and haven't had an issue. So to me, it's worth the risk, to be honest. I just absolutely love it. For me, the social part of this in the green tree python community is just as important as the animals I keep. So I'm willing to take the risk.
Very nice. I'll just go to the couple of questions. The first question is about Gary Shavino. How was his visit with Gary Shavino? And he's asking about the Carpondros. We kind of went through that the first part of the show. So, but how was the visit with Gary Shavino? I don't know what that means.
Say that again. How is what?
He says, how was the visit with Gary Shavino?
Yeah, Gary and I and Ryan Young and MJ and Marshall Mendez all just got back from the Southeast Reptile Expo in Atlanta. And so I get to see Gary a couple times a year. And again, like Ryan, he is, one of my very, very best friends. I talk to Gary and Ryan weekly, if not daily. And so, yeah, we love to jab Gary about Carpondros because he thinks they're an absolute abomination. But it's all in fun.
I love his YouTube videos just about it. It's freaking hilarious. I've seen a good amount of them.
He's a very, very funny guy. He's done stand-up comedy in the past. He's just that.
I could see that.
Quick-witted and sharp.
Does he ever do podcasts? I'm trying to think. I actually don't think we hear him on podcasts. I haven't heard him
I tried to get him to come on there, but he told me respectfully he doesn't do many podcasts, if any. He says that's not his thing, kind of thing.
Anyway. He's extremely busy. I don't even know if he's been on our podcast. I can't remember. I think maybe he did an episode of GTP Keeper Radio, which was a very old blog talk platform that myself and Buddy Buscemi hosted for about 8 years. I think he was on one episode of that. But between just his regular job, his animals, his brokering, his YouTube channel, he's just super, super busy. He was super stressed in our Atlanta trip because he had so much to get back to. So I can understand his reluctancy to do podcasts.
So moving forward, like obviously you're renowned for some of the most incredible GTPs or designer chondros, right? I'm going to assume and say you're not bringing anything new into your collection. You're probably just line breeding whatever it is that you love, right? Where do you see yourself going? Like, in how many years do you think you're still going to be breeding? Or are you just going to still breed kind of with slowly moving away while Alex keeps doing it? Or you think there's another decade left? Or do you think you're going to be traveling a lot more and slowly move the reins to the left?
Yeah. To answer your first question, I can't remember the last time I brought an animal in here. I've got enough diversity in the genetics here for the projects that I have between myself and Alex's stuff. Alex and I usually do 1 or 2 projects every year. So between what he has and what I have, there's just no reason to bring anything else in. I'm definitely moving on the outward outward exit towards this. Alex will be doing this, you know, his collection. He's going to move his collection into my facility within the next couple of years. 2 years from now, he will hold 90% of the reins on everything, his animals and mine. I'll be traveling more. I'll be available, for if it's a heavy baby production, he needs help feeding 100 babies. I'll be there to help him do that. I'm going to still stay probably active on the social media side, the advertising and just maintain that Phoenix Reptiles brand. But he's going to be doing in a couple of years the brunt of the work.
Just by curiosity, I don't actually know, but have you been doing snakes as a full-time job forever, or do you have another career? I actually don't know.
Yeah, I'm a retired anesthesiologist.
There you go.
I practiced anesthesia for 24 years. And then in my early 50s, I had to make a decision. I was doing snakes on the side, small time, but between the two of them, I was working 80, 90 hours a week. And so I needed to, as I got to be 50, I was just beat. And I needed to make a decision to go one way or the other. And I think I made the right decision. That was 8 years ago.
I feel like we should be calling you Dr. Stegall. But it's something like I've never heard it. Like I knew, I was trying to figure that out. I'm like, did you do anything else? And well, kudos to you, man. Good for you. That's a great career. And
I loved it. I loved it at the time, but I got burned out from the practice in my in my early 50s, and I was just super, super fortunate that I had something to pivot into that was, at the time I enjoyed this much more. It was a much better lifestyle, and I was, still able to make enough money to do it full time. So
I'm kind of curious on this. So I'm in healthcare as well. I'm far from a doctor, but I'm an advanced care paramedic here, and I've been doing it for 20 plus years now. And I'm about
fantastic.
Thanks. I'm about like 9 years away from retirement, right? And there's a part of me that wonders, like, when I get there, will I jump like head first into full-time reptile breeding, or will I actually slim down my collection and go from there? So when you went to the point of I'm retiring from being a doctor, did your collection explode from there, or what was that? I'm just kind of curious.
It's interesting. Mine was the exact opposite, because at the time, 8 years ago, my business plan was to make revenue, the majority of my revenue, breeding, selling, and vending ball pythons. I was doing green tree pythons, but I would clutch clutch 1 year, 2 clutches the next year. But I was my business plan, I met with my financial planner, was like, all right, I think I can vend 1 or 2 reptile shows a month. I think I can produce this amount of money by breeding ball pythons. And then, 2 years later, the green tree python market exploded. And I was just at the prime point where I went from producing 1 or 2 clutches a year to producing 4, 6. 2 years ago, I produced 10. So I went the opposite. My last 2 years in my medical practice, I was producing a ton of ball pythons because I felt like I had to have that like 2-year period where I had to convince myself I could make it a full-time gig. And ironically now, the green tree pythons have been what's brought me here and kept me here.
Yeah. So. Very, very cool.
Can you go in?
I'll go for it, Chad.
Can you go into what you have in your collection right now? Like what you have left? Yeah. Well, just what you have.
Yeah. I mean, I've got, gosh, I don't even know how many adult green tree pythons, probably 30 adult green trees, a handful of subadults. I hold very little stuff back now. Maybe 10% or less of what I produce, I hold back. So it's been a great, revenue stream the last few years. I've got probably left 30 to 40 ball pythons. I had 10 times that many 3 years ago. I've got 5 adult Borneo short-tail pythons that I still have. I've got 2 carpet pythons, 2 carpondros, and that's it.
Why the random Borneos? Like that's just like the complete opposite. Like that's a big fat slug with
Yeah.
arboreal animals. Like how does that fit in?
Well, that I've had that project many, many years, and it was back when I was trying to, all right, if I'm gonna get out there and I'm gonna do this professionally, I want some side gigs. I wanted to produce, a few green tree pythons. I wanted to produce something other than, some carpet pythons, some Borneos, just have a variety of animals on my table and not just go and just have all ball pythons. So that was my thinking there. And I produced those Borneos for 10 years and enjoyed them. They are so different than anything else.
And you obviously still enjoy them now. You're still doing it, still breeding
Not
them.
really.
No, the
I haven't bred
nostalgia.
I haven't bred those in probably 4 or 5 years. They're just hanging out here. I still enjoy them. But I'm gonna have to get rid of them before Alex moves in.
I was just curious. Like I've kind of done the same thing. I think Shan and I keep going into little species here, little species there. We keep
Yeah,
trying new things, and
absolutely.
it's fun. Like it's definitely cool. But my collection used to be 95% carpets, and I'd say my goal is to bring it down to 50 or even less, and keep moving in. Like I've moved in a lot of species that keep coming in and out, but some stay. Like the pygmies have come and they've stayed. I've tried a couple of let's say like spotted pythons. I've done it for a couple of years, got rid of them. We tried I don't even know what else. A couple of different other pythons, and now like I've tried Angolans, and now we have, like ring pythons, rough scale pythons, diamond pythons, a couple of other ones that are all like moving. Pardon me?
I,
Inlands, Brettles.
Yeah, inland. It's fun to diversify, just to try something different, because
yeah,
I feel like it gets stale after a
absolutely.
while of doing the same thing all the time, right?
Absolutely. As you're growing through this, gosh, I've kept boas, I've kept rough scales, rhino rat snakes, Angolans. You don't know until you try. And some things work out for you, and I would have never known about green tree pythons unless I was convinced to try them. So you never really know what species you're going to latch onto, and that's really going to you know take over your passion.
So, how many yellow neonates or yellow green trees do you have in your collection?
I'm going to turn the camera around for a second, okay?
Yeah.
I don't know. Can you see that those racks right there? Can you see that?
Yeah, I can see it.
Okay.
Yeah, we can see them.
Okay. No yellows. I think there's 50 or 60 neonates in that rack, and there's not a single
There's
yellow.
not a single yellow.
How's Ryan feel about that?
He's not too upset because he'd know they'd just be bastards anyway. He's happy there's no yellows in here.
Oh, right.
I do produce yellows. I would say I average probably 2 yellows a year.
Okay.
Just from one animal that I have in particular that throws yellows.
There you go. And I'm sure those are the most expensive animals you sell, right?
Well, they're so rare that, yeah, they demand a very high price.
They're just rare in your collection. So obviously one of the most, I would argue and say one of the most famous snakes ever produced came from your collection, right? You alerted to it a little bit earlier, but what pairing? You said it was your second year that you produced green trees. What pairing did you do to get the sickness? Like,
Yeah,
what did you breed in? Like, how did you know that it was different from everybody else when you first got her? Or him? Is sickness a boy?
Sickness was a boy.
Okay.
Yeah. So I acquired an adult male named Jaeger. Marshall Mendez produced him, and Matt Morris, who's also in Texas, he's an old school green tree python guy, ended up with him, and I convinced Matt to sell him because Matt was a yellow guy, and Jaeger produced predominantly red. I think Matt bred him once or twice, produced a lot of reds and just a few yellows, so he was ready to get rid of him. So I acquired Jaeger, and at the same time, I acquired a long-term captive, what they used to refer to as a Wamena locality type. They don't refer to Wamena. Now they're just Highland types. But it was a very green adult female. Jaeger is, I would describe as mildly melanistic. And so I paired them and I had that clutch and the sickness popped out. And he was
Just
unique looking.
so before the Jagger, I know Jagger passed away, right?
Yeah, just recently.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Okay, but
yeah.
so what did he look like at like 3.5? You know, that the stage of his best looking. I'm just curious. Did you know what he looked like back then?
Yeah, I didn't have him when he was 3.5. I think I got him when he was more like the 4.5 year mark. So he didn't really change much in my collection, but he was a beautiful green. He had green, yellow, and what I would call probably the old school guys would call it mite phase melanistic. So he didn't have a lot of black scales that were congruent. He just had a lot of individual black scaling.
Ten
Just
percent, 10% black scales, 5.3.
10% or less, 5 to 10% of, I
Okay.
would say, black scales. And
Kind of flecking.
yeah, flecking. Flecking is a great word to describe him. But he was just a prolific breeder. He produced so many animals here. He produced an animal that is called Sickness 2.0. And if you want, I can run and show you that animal real quick. Give me one second. Let me see. Yeah, because he's phenomenal.
Let's do it.
Yeah, for sure. Like, I'd love to see the animals. Yeah, I'm just trying to figure out. So when you got that, I'm assuming you can still hear me there, Bill. Okay, perfect. So when you got that clutch, I'd be curious to know, did you know that that sickness was going to be special? Like, was it obvious when you saw it compared to its clutch mates?
He was definitely a holdback. I mean, I definitely saw him. He was very reduced pattern, not really red, but more of a brownish, dark brownish color. Yeah, he stood out from the clutch. But interesting, I repeated that pairing 2 years later. I got two two neos that looked almost identical to him, but they never developed that degree of melanism that the sickness did. This is sickness 2.0.
And is it the same pairing or what? What's Jesus Christ? That's gorgeous.
It was the same male Jaeger bred to a different female, a female called Biscuit, which is a designer. She was actually a yellow neonate.
And that's how old is that female? Or
this is a male. He's
sorry,
5.
how old is 5? Okay. So he's
5.
done his change of color and everything, right? This is what he's gonna look like, right? Wow.
Yeah, he's done. So
That's just
beautiful.
incredible. Incredible. Like you know, when you show me something like that, Bill, I almost want to produce bastards. Like you almost make me want to jump in on your side of the fence. But wow,
and you can see he's absolutely trying to bite my face off, right? I mean these things are so docile. The captive bred ones are just absolutely, they're as docile as ball pythons.
So am I right now? I'm almost is. Would you consider the top as a really, really dark green, or would you consider that black?
The black is definitely black.
Okay. I think on the cameras it's coming off a little bit more. I don't know if you're seeing the same thing as me, Shan.
So I can see dark green, but I can see the flecking, like I'm calling it. I can see black, and then a lot of white too, and then yellow, and then light green. It's just
I think what I like more is the ridiculous amount of contrast. Like the contrast of the dark versus the light is what's incredible. It's So what's your plan with 2.0?
He's already produced one clutch, a small clutch.
Okay.
In fact, when he was 3 years old, so he's pretty young to produce. I'm not sure which female he's going to get this year, but he's definitely going to be bred this year.
And what would be ideal? Would you breed it to another designer? Would you breed it to?
It'll be a designer female that's got melanistic lineage, probably something else that came from Jaeger. So not an exact line breeding, but a female that's got some history of melanism in her lineage.
Nice. And when it comes to the sickness, I heard, did he ever produce? I think he produced one clutch before passing away. Is that correct?
Yeah, I produced one clutch. It was a good sized clutch. I ended up keeping, what do I have? I think I have 5 offspring of his, 2 females, 2 males here, and a male, up at Buddy Buscemi's house. But, he only produced once, but he produced some phenomenal animals. I'll show you another one real quick.
You're gonna have 2 green trees in your hands. Jeez.
These things are so easy. So this is a sickness male offspring. Not nearly as melanistic as he was.
Gorgeous nonetheless, though.
It's still a lot of black.
A lot of like mite phase for sure, eh?
Yeah, this is this is what would be more typical of, flecking mite phase.
Yeah.
But he does have some black patches to him too, where there's more than just one scale that's black congruent. So
Wow,
beautiful.
gorgeous.
yeah, I love them. I just, I fell into the melanism project. Obviously, my second clutch, had some, had the sickness and some other melanistic animals in there. So I kind of fell into that project, but it happens to be what I really enjoy working with anyway. I've got some blue line stuff, but the melanistic stuff is what really does it for me.
So I often hear people saying that if you're gonna produce anything crazy, the if you have a really nice design or anything, if you're gonna breed it out to anything, you should always breed it to a Biak. How do you feel about that? Do you think that's the way to produce the weirdest things, or to have a chance at producing anything weird? Like I hear it all the time. If you're gonna outcross it to anything, it's got to be a Biak. What's your thought on that?
I'd say a Biak would be a great starting point. I would say before you even discussed what locality, you'd want to breed it to something that was a red neonate. So like you wouldn't want to breed it to an Aru that was a yellow neonate, but really almost anything, any locality that was a red neonate. Like the sickness popped out of a very green snake that was that Wamina type. She was a red neonate, but she was very nondescript, as green as they come. So I would think, I would rather breed something crazy melanistic or blue to an animal that was a red neonate versus a yellow Biak, for example.
Hey, fair enough. I mean, it's interesting. Perfect. Shan, you got anywhere you wanted to go with the conversation? I think you've got a hurry. We're trying to keep it around 2 hours, so we've got the last 15 minutes.
Sure.
I'm good. Actually, I've learned quite a lot tonight. So no, thank you so much. Yeah, absolutely.
Oh yeah,
Great to have you on and learning from the best. So
yeah,
I can't wait to have our own green trees and get them and raise them up. And so.
I think we're gonna go probably a very different route, but like Shan was talking, he's brought up Don Patterson a few times ago, and Don Patterson is probably one of the biggest, I'd argue and say, one of the biggest breeders for Canada, right? And it's a man that I have extreme respect for, and that has done a lot of amazing things. And I talk to him on the phone quite often for probably way too long. But he's the complete opposite of me. He does everything about as Frankenstein as can be, and produces arguably some of the most incredible carpet mutt hybrid. I'm gonna dare say the word garbage out there that are the most beautiful snakes I've ever seen. Not at all anything that I want, and he could give it to me and I would never take it. But oh my God, they're gorgeous, like just incredible. And I find it's very similar to you. Like you produce some animals that are just insane. Like you look at it and it's like amazing, simply incredible. But it's not the avenue I want to go down. But it doesn't change that I adore it. I love it, and I think it's just incredible.
I look forward to you guys getting the green tree bug, man. I really do. With your experience, with everything that you've worked with and have had success with, I think once you get the green tree bug, there's going to be no going back.
I'm not gonna lie, I do think so. That being said, like my interests. Pardon me.
We've had some bad luck
Oh,
though
yeah.
to start.
We actually had bought a good amount of green trees, and it didn't go well. We had an avenue, and we had bought 12 green trees and all Walcots because that was the avenue I wanted to go down, and we totally got played, man.
No kidding.
Person decided to just take our money and leave, and went through a big breakup with her boyfriend and decided that she would cancel, stop paying, and everything disappeared. And yeah, our
Oh no.
And
So
we
then
you
lost
never
the
got, you never got them in your possession?
nope, nope. We had bought 12 green trees. We had bought 4 Biox, 4 what was it? 4
oh,
I don't even know. uh, 4 different localities, three different type of localities or species. There was 4 biax, there was 4 all red neos. So whichever the locality that produces reds, let's just put it that way. And I don't even remember. This was a couple of years ago, and it really set us back. Right, it put a sour taste in our mouth. So, and that's when I went looking into it. And we imported, we export, and we've done it before, and we have all the permits to do it. And that's kind of why we're going through somebody else really put a sour taste that I considered doing it really like 100% on my own and just like bypassing everybody. And I'm just choosing not to because honestly, I don't want to do an order that's big enough. When you do it yourself, you really have to do a certain size order to make it worthwhile.
For
And
sure.
I don't want to deal with all the rest of the garbage and all the other animals that I don't want.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
but
Well, I'm
we're,
so
we're,
sorry that happened. I mean, that's brutal. I thought you were going to tell me you got them in and they died or had nido or just
no,
perished or whatever. Man, that's
we
terrible.
just paid for them and never got them.
That's that is terrible. I'm sorry that happened. And I'm
we didn't
Yeah,
play
it's all.
first base.
put a
What was
sour
that, Chad?
taste in your mouth.
Yeah.
We never left first base.
No, you didn't. No, you
No,
didn't.
it
Never got the
sucked.
bat. You never got the
No,
bat.
right? Probably, nah, exactly. Never got to the
Damn.
bat. Yeah, it
Damn.
sucks.
Yeah,
I'm
but
sorry to hear that.
it's
Lesson
all
learned.
good. But I mean, you've heard the stories, right? Like there was the big thing here about one of the big imports that came into Canada that everything had nido and caused tons of problems. I don't know if you heard that about. What was that? Was that last year?
Yeah, I heard about
Yeah,
it last
and I
year.
mean, it left a sour taste in a lot of people here, and that was all coming from the farms and one specific farm in Indonesia. And I mean, it's funny because to me that happens, right? It if you're doing wild caught, that's the risk that you're doing. If you're doing captive bred farming, which I would argue and say that that's not captive bred, but it's
Yeah,
that's the reason why you're buying captive bred for cheaper, for a lot more. Sorry, right?
yeah.
Because you're removing that risk
Yeah,
somewhat.
yeah, somewhat. Now that we can, Nido test and it's kind of the standard, you can see those farms over there just being breeding grounds for Nido, right? I mean, I'm
Oh,
sure
100. Yeah.
if one animal has it, they all have it,
Right.
So
Sure.
I can definitely see that happening. Probably less of a chance if it's truly a wild caught. They just literally pluck it out of the wild, put it in the bottle, the bag, and send it here. It's less likely to have Nido than on a farm because they're not Nido testing farm animals. That's for sure.
No, I wouldn't see that. Um, So for you, when you sell your animals, just real quickly, we'll just go into that. Do you nido test? Do you now shed test too for sex, or is that something that you'll only
Yeah.
do if it's demanded of you?
Yeah. So two different scenarios. Nido testing, I do not routinely nido test neonates that I sell. I have a very strict, I've got a room that's dedicated, with the exception of really just one animal that I showed you, everything in here is just neonates. And, there's no exposure to the collection in general. Everything is done in this room first. We work from one room to the next, never coming back. So we have a pretty good protocol to prevent Nido from these neonates having it. And the second reason is I'm good friends with Chad Lytle, who you may know from RAL, Research Associate Laboratories. He's in the North Texas area, and just in personal conversations with him, the likelihood of even if a neonate did have Nido, the amount of sample that it would get on the swab would probably be undetectable anyway. So you're kind of spinning your wheels, swabbing a very small animal and expecting to get positive results. And not only that, but it's not, it could be potentially harmful to the neo, whether you're talking about injury to the mouth, neck area, tail kink. I mean, it's not without risk to nido swab a neonate chondro. So, I will do it if it's on request, but I tell the people that I'm not responsible for any bony abnormalities in the future. What I would tell them is it'd probably be better if you get it, nido test it the week it comes in. If it's positive, I'm happy to obviously do the right thing, take the animal back. And boy, nido testing has been around for, like we talked about, eight years now, and I've never had a single person that has said, "Hey, you sent me a nido animal." So I
You
think
might
if
be
the,
one. I was gonna say
I
you
mean,
might be one of those lucky person that doesn't have it in his collection, or you do, just like most of other people, but your collection is so healthy and kept right that it's just doesn't show up. It's asymptomatic, and maybe it's a strain that's not dangerous. Like I honestly, my thought is everybody has it in their collection. I think there's so many different strains. I truly think everybody has it, but I think it's not as bad as people think. I think the majority of animals are healthy, are no problem. And if I was to test, I would do exactly what you said. I would wait till it's shipped, it's stressed to crap, put in a new cage, and then test it. Because if it's going
sure,
to test positive, I want to test a stressed out animal, not an animal that lives in your collection that's perfectly healthy, that has zero problem, that's been there for, if you sold an adult, why test it in its cage that it's been there living for 5 years with zero issues? Of course it's going to test negative,
yeah,
right?
I do
But
test. It is rare for me to sell anything but a neonate, but every year I end up selling a couple animals. If they're a year older, then I test them here before I send them, and then I request that they test them again on arrival. So that's two tests. And if they're both negative, which they have been ever since I've been selling animals and nido tests have been available, then I think you got a pretty good chance you got a nido negative animal. So definitely, Dom, I've been doing carpet pythons and green trees long enough that I probably at some time had nido in my collection, but the animals that I have here now have been tested, every single one of them, 3 times. And, if you get three negative nido tests in a year period, then the experts say you're 95% nido free. So,
yeah,
and haven't
and I,
haven't had a respiratory infection in 10 years. That's the honest truth.
yeah. And again, I don't disagree with you. I'm on the same page. I think the only big difference is that we cycle our entire room and our entire animals and like go down pretty low, like low 60s to high 50s, depending on the animal. So um, I think Shan and I probably have always one animal that we have a problem with every year, I'd say. But you bring your animals that low, it's just a matter of time till things come out. And we both have collections of like a decent amount of collection, like
Sure.
probably 50 to 60 adults, give or take. So you know, it's bound to happen. But yeah, Shan, anything you want to hit up on before we close this out?
No, I'm good. I think
Good.
we've
Well,
covered quite a lot.
yeah.
Great.
So Bill, before we get into anything, do you want to let people know how to reach you if they want to buy a green tree from you, if you have anything for sale,
Yeah,
or
for
just want
sure.
to chat?
Yeah, absolutely. On Instagram, I'm Phoenix Reptiles, and on Facebook, Bill Stegall. Two easy ways to find me. My contact information is there are both places.
Shan, you want to drop your contacts?
Simple. Shan Melanson at Facebook or Instagram. I was there. I haven't started my page yet, but getting on it. Yeah,
Beauty.
I don't have much to sell right now. We're all tied up with the Japan order, so
Yeah, we got to figure that one out. See what's left.
Dom,
spotted China.
I didn't answer your question about sexing, the shed sexing.
Oh yeah, go for it.
You got 5 minutes. I think that's an important conversation.
I definitely want to have it. I'm more just because I told you I'd finish it by 8:30, and we're 5 minutes away from 8:30. So
Okay,
I,
perfect.
I'm trying to respect your time. I'll go on for all night if you want to go.
Or we could have you on another time too.
It's always an option.
I'd be happy to come back and do a part 2.
There you go. I like it. We'll take you up on that offer in a few months.
Well,
Okay. As concerning the sex shedding, yeah, new technology, literally just months old. And I think it's going to be the standard moving forward, selling green tree pythons. If you go on King Snake right now, or Morph Market right now, and you look at neonate green tree pythons, I don't think there's a single one that has been listed as sex shed, male or female. But I think 3 months from now, if you go and you look, you're going to see some there. I've got 2 clutches that I'm waiting for a couple of animals to shed. I'm going to send in, and then when those are fully established and ready to go, they'll be posted sexed via the sex shed analysis on Morph Market. So I think that's the way that it's moving. It's just going to be the standard.
I think it's really cool. I'll give you an example. Like I've inquired one guy that had green trees for sale in Canada that were pure and something I was interested in, but he told me the sex of the animals and their neos, and to me, that was a reason for not buying them. Because to me,
Bit of a red flag.
I was actually going to ask you exactly that. If we have a quick minute, how do you feel about people that sex their neos and then sell them as males or females?
I think it's pretty uncommon. Like if you get on Morph Market, you'll see most of the animals, they're not sexed. And that's just been the long-term standing, from Rico and Trooper and all the founders, that they sex their neonates, but they found a high percentage of tail kinks, later on, maybe not that week or that month, but when the animal's a year or 18 months old, wow, it's got a nasty tail kink. I wonder where that came from. So it's just been the standard up until now to not sex a baby, and to never pop it. Wait till it gets big enough to be safely probed. And that's where I stand.
And I just wanted to bring it up because it was something that really stood out at me. Like I was looking at it, he was telling me, and then, like, anyway, I'm not going to say too many details because I don't want people to know what it is, but I can tell you for me, that was a huge red flag. And it told me I didn't want those because to me, that was too much of a high risk.
Yeah. I mean, I think you could pop a green tree successfully. But I think you just risk kinking it.
Which I feel is just not worth it, right? Especially when you pay the price of a captive bred, yeah.
Yeah. Especially now that you can safely sex shed it. There's no reason to. There's really no reason to. I mean, I can understand if you're just getting your collection started and you had an idea like, I want to get 2.4, animals. Boy, it's going to be great to pick your 2.4 when they're neonates, because that's really the right way, I think, to do these things. Get them when they're young, establishing them in your place. Don't move them around a lot. A lot of them don't tolerate it. They don't tolerate changes in environment. So I think really the right way to do it, if you ask me, is to get them when they're young, raise them up in your environment. Once the female reaches 4 to 5 years old, breed her. You're gonna have good success if you do it that way.
Yeah, I agree. Well, listen, Bill, a gigantic thank you. I appreciate you sparing some time for us.
Thanks, Bill.
Again, you've got my utmost respect, and I love your podcast that you also do with MJ.
Thank you.
It's entertaining. It's just fun. I love. To me, I almost feel like you're like friends shooting the shit, even though like
that's all it is. Just like you guys.
Yeah, it's just great. I love it. So to everybody who's on, thank you for listening. Reptile Rejects. You can reach us on Instagram. If you're listening to us live on YouTube, please click the little notification bell, that kind of fun stuff on the podcast. Please subscribe. For myself, Dominic Carbonneau on Facebook, Dom's Reptiles on Instagram. And thanks everybody for logging on. And we should be back next week. We don't really know who our guests will be, but we'll probably have some. We're trying. We've got some ideas, but nothing's concrete yet. So again, Bill, thank you so much. Please don't log off for about 30 seconds just to make sure that we're good. And to everybody still listening, thank you.
Thank you, guys.